Awareness is where everything begins and where most people are afraid to go. Because awareness is not just seeing what's happening around you, it's seeing what's happening inside you. And that's a place many avoid. It's easier to blame the world, to point fingers, to say, they made me feel this way. But the moment you become aware, excuses start to collapse. Think about it. Mind games only work in the dark. They rely on confusion. They feed on emotional reactions. They grow stronger when you don't question them. The moment you bring awareness into the situation, it's like turning on a light in a room full of illusions. Suddenly, what looked powerful looks weak. What felt overwhelming becomes predictable. At first, awareness feels uncomfortable because you start noticing things you ignored before. You realize how certain words trigger you. You see how quickly your mood shifts based on someone else's tone, their approval, their rejection. And that realization can sting. You begin to understand that not every feeling you have is truly yours. Some were planted, shaped by past experiences, by people who knew exactly which buttons to press. You weren't weak, you were conditioned. But here's the turning point. Awareness doesn't trap you in that truth. It frees you from it. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Once you recognize the trigger, it loses its surprise. Once you understand the game, you stop reacting like a puppet. Imagine someone throws negativity at you. Before awareness, you absorb it instantly. It hits you and you feel anger, frustration, maybe even self-doubt. You react without thinking, and just like that, they've controlled your state of mind. But with awareness, something different happens. There's a pause. A small, powerful gap between what happens and how you respond. In that gap you observe, you ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Is this reaction helping me or hurting me? Is this even true or just noise? That pause is your power, because in that moment you're no longer being controlled. You're choosing. Awareness teaches you to separate facts from interpretations. Someone's words are just words until your mind gives them meaning. And most of the time, the meaning you give is shaped by old wounds, old fears, old insecurities. But when you're aware of that, you stop blindly believing every thought that crosses your mind. You start challenging them. That voice in your head that says, you're not good enough. Where did it come from? Who put it there? And more importantly, why are you still listening to it? Awareness turns your mind from a battlefield into a control room. Instead of fighting every negative thought, you start observing them. You watch them come and go like passing clouds, and you realize something powerful. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. And once you understand that everything shifts because now negativity loses its authority, it becomes just another signal, not a command. It can knock on your door, but it doesn't get to walk in and take over. Awareness also exposes the intentions of others. When someone tries to manipulate you, they're counting on your reaction. They want you to feel insecure, angry, or defensive. That reaction gives them control. But when you're aware, you start seeing beyond their words. You notice their tone, their timing, their patterns. You realize that their behavior says more about them than it does about you. And instead of reacting emotionally, you respond strategically, or sometimes you don't respond at all. Silence, when chosen consciously, is one of the most powerful responses because it shows that you're not playing their game. Awareness also forces you to take responsibility, and that's where real power lies. Not responsibility for what others do, but responsibility for how you process it. You stop saying they made me feel this way and start saying this is how I responded and I can change that. That shift is everything, because if others control how you feel, then your peace is always at risk. But if you control your response, your peace becomes untouchable. Of course, awareness doesn't mean you suddenly become emotionless. You will still feel anger. You will still feel pain. You will still face moments of doubt. But the difference is those feelings no longer control you. You feel them without becoming them. You acknowledge them without letting them define your actions. That's mastery. And here's the part most people don't talk about. Awareness is a skill. It's not something you switch on overnight. It's something you build moment by moment. Every time you pause instead of reacting. Every time you question a negative thought. Every time you choose understanding over impulsa, you're strengthening that skill. At first, you'll forget. You'll get pulled back into old patterns. You'll react before you think. You'll feel like nothing has changed. But even then, awareness is working, because now after the reaction, you notice it, you reflect, you learn, you adjust. And slowly that awareness starts showing up earlier and earlier until one day it shows up before the reaction itself. That's when you know you've changed, because now you're not just aware after the fact. You're aware in the moment, and that's where control lives. So when they try to play mind games, when negativity tries to creep into them, when your own thoughts try to turn against you, you don't panic. You observe. You understand, and then you decide, because awareness is not just about seeing the truth. It's about choosing what you do with it. And once you truly understand that, no game can control you. No negativity can own you. Because the moment you see clearly, you become dangerous in a way they can't predict. Not because you fight harder, but because you're no longer blind. There's a voice in your head that never goes silent. It speaks when you wake up. It follows you through the day. It whispers when everything is quiet at night. Most people think that voice is them. But that's the first illusion, because that voice can be programmed, shaped, influenced. And if you don't take control of it, someone else will. Think about where it came from. Every criticism you heard growing up, every moment someone doubted you, every failure that left a scar, they didn't just disappear. They became part of that voice. So when it says you can't do this, it might not even be your belief. It might be an echo, a leftover imprint from someone who never understood your potential. And yet you listen to it like it's the truth. That's how the game is played, not by controlling your actions directly, but by controlling your actions directly, but by controlling the voice that decides your actions. Because if they can make you doubt yourself, you'll hesitate. If they can make you feel small, you'll play small. If they can make you believe you're not enough, you'll never even try to become more. And the most dangerous part, it feels natural. It feels like it's just who you are, but it's not. It's conditioning. And the moment you realize that, you start to take your power back. Controlling your inner voice doesn't mean silencing it. That's impossible. The voice will always be there. The real power comes from changing your relationship with it. Instead of blindly obeying it, you start questioning it. When it says you're going to fail, you ask based on what? When it says you're not good enough, you respond. Says who? When it says don't try, you'll embarrass yourself. You challenge it, or maybe I'll grow. You stop treating every thought like a command and start treating it like a suggestion. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything, because now you're no longer being dragged by your thoughts. You're evaluating them. Imagine your mind as a courtroom. Your inner voice is constantly presenting arguments. Some are logical, some are emotional, some are completely distorted. Before you accepted every argument without question, now you become the judge. You listen, but you don't automatically agree. You look for evidence. You question assumptions. You reject what doesn't serve you, and slowly that voice begins to change, because here's the truth most people ignore. The inner voice adapts to how you respond to it. If you let it bully you, it becomes harsher. If you ignore it completely, it becomes louder. But if you challenge it with awareness and intention, it clears throat, starts to evolve. It starts to align with the direction you choose. At first, it will resist. It will go back to old patterns. It will repeat the same negative lines. It will try to pull you into familiar emotional reactions, because that's what it knows. But you stay consistent. You correct it. You redirect it. You replace destructive thoughts with intentional ones. Not fake positivity, not empty affirmations, but grounded, controlled thinking. Instead of I'm a failure, you say I'm learning. Instead of I can't handle this, you say I'll figure it out. Instead of everything is going wrong, you say this is temporary. These aren't just words, they're instructions. And your mind follows the instructions. You repeat the most. That's how you reprogram the voice. Not by force, but by repetition and control. And over time, something powerful happens. The voice that once held you back starts pushing you forward. The same mind that created doubt starts creating clarity. The same voice that once whispered fear begins to speak confidence. But it doesn't stop there. Controlling your inner voice also means knowing when not to engage with it. Not every thought deserves your attention. Some thoughts are just noise, random fears, old memories, imagined worst-case scenarios. If you chase every one of them, you'll exhaust yourself. So you learn to let them pass. You observe them without reacting. You acknowledge them without attaching to them. It's like standing in the middle of a storm, but refusing to be carried away by the wind. You remain still while everything else moves. That's control. And when negative feelings rise, and they will, you don't let the voice turn them into something bigger. You don't let one bad moment become my whole life is a mess. You don't let one mistake become I'm worthless. You don't let temporary pain become a permanent identity, because now you see what the voice is trying to do. It's trying to generalize, to exaggerate, to protect you in the wrong way. And instead of falling for it, you bring it back to reality. You keep it grounded. You remind yourself of what's real, not just what feels intense. That's how you overcome negative feelings. Not by eliminating them, but by refusing to let your inner voice distort them. Because feelings come and go, but the story your mind tells about those feelings is what keeps them alive. Change the story and you change the experience. And here's where it all comes together. When you truly control your inner voice, you become unpredictable to anyone trying to manipulate you. They expect you to react emotionally, but you don't. They expect you to doubt yourself, but you question the doubt. They expect you to break under pressure, but your mind stays steady because the control they were trying to gain from the outside you've already secured on the inside. Now your confidence doesn't depend on praise. Your peace doesn't depend on circumstances. Your decisions don't depend on fear. They come from a place of control, a place where your thoughts serve you instead of sabotage you. And once you reach that point, the voice in your head is no longer your enemy. It becomes your ally. Sharp, focused, disciplined. It still speaks, but now it speaks with purpose. Not to limit you, but to guide you. Not to weaken you, but to strengthen you. And the world can try whatever it wants. But when your inner voice is under your control, there's nothing left for them to manipulate. Pain has a reputation. People run from it, hide from it, numb it, pretend it doesn't exist. Because pain feels like weakness, like something that slows you down, breaks your focus, makes you vulnerable. But that's only true if you leave it unexamined. Unquestioned pain becomes suffering. Ignored pain becomes poison. But understood pain becomes power. The difference is what you do with it. Every painful moment carries information, not just emotion information. It tells you where something mattered. It shows you where expectations collided with reality. It exposes the gaps between what you thought would happen and what actually did. Most people stop at the feeling. They say fat hurt and walk away, or worse, they carry it like a weight that defines them. But if you go one step deeper, you start to see the pattern. You ask, why did this hurt? Not on the surface, but underneath it. Was it rejection? Was it betrayal? Was it failure? And then you go even deeper. What belief did that pain touch? Because pain isn't just about what happened, it's about what it meant to you. Two people can go through the same situation. One breaks, the other adapts. The difference isn't the event, it's the interpretation. That's where strategy begins. You stop treating pain like a random attack and start treating it like data. Cold, clear, useful. Let's say someone disrespects you. The immediate reaction is emotional, anger, frustration, maybe even self-doubt. But if you stay there, you lose control. Instead, you step back and analyze. What exactly triggered this reaction? Was it their words or what those words implied? Did it hit an insecurity or challenge a boundary? Now you're no longer just feeling pain, you're studying it. And in that study, you uncover something valuable. Maybe you realize your boundaries aren't clear. Maybe you see that you're seeking validation where you shouldn't. Maybe you understand that their behavior reflects their own limitations, not your worth. That realization is strategy. Because now the next time it happens, you're not surprised, you're prepared. Pain becomes a lesson you've already learned, not a trap you fall into. Again, the same applies to failure. Failure hurts not just because of the outcome, but because of what it says to your mind. You're not capable, you're not ready, you're not enough. But those are interpretations, not facts. When you turn pain into strategy, you strip those interpretations away and focus on reality. What went wrong? What was missing? What can be improved? You become precise. Instead of saying, I failed, you say, this approach didn't work because of this, and this. Now pain is no longer emotional chaos. It's structured feedback. And feedback can be used. This is where most people fall behind. They feel pain, but they don't process it, so it repeats. Different situation, same result. Different people, same pattern, because the lesson was never extracted. But when you start using pain strategically, repetition turns into refinement. Each mistake sharpens you. Each setback adjusts your direction. Each one teaches you where to guard and where to grow. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That shift alone changes everything, because now nothing is wasted. Not the betrayal, not the rejection, not the disappointment. All of it becomes material, raw input that you shape into something stronger. And here's the part that most people overlook. Turning pain into strategy doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. You still feel. You still experience the full weight of what happens. But instead of drowning in it, you use it. You allow yourself to feel the pain fully without letting it control your actions. That's discipline, because it's easy to react when you're hurt. It's easy to lash out, shut down, or give up. But strategy requires patience. It requires you to sit with the discomfort long enough to understand it, to separate the emotion from the lesson. Clears throat. And once you do that, the pain starts to lose its sting. Not because it didn't matter, but because it's already been used. It's already been transformed. Think of it like this. Pain is raw energy. If you don't direct it, it burns you. If you channel it, it fuels you. The same pain that could destroy your confidence can build your resilience. The same rejection that could make you quit can push you to improve. The same disappointment that could make you bitter can make you sharper. It all depends on what you do with it. And over time, something changes inside you. You stop fearing pain. Not because you enjoy it, but because you understand it. You know that no matter what happens, there's something to extract from it, something to learn, something to adjust, something to strengthen. That confidence is different. It's not based on everything going right, it's based on knowing you can handle things when they go wrong. That's real power. Because now when life hits you, and it will, you don't collapse. You observe, you process, you adapt, you turn the experience into an advantage. And the people who once thought pain would break you start to realize something unsettling. Every time they tried to hurt you, they made you harder to defeat. Every setback became a setup. Every loss became a lesson. Every wound became wisdom. And now you're not just surviving challenges, you're using them, refining yourself with every impact, becoming more precisely, more aware, more controlled. That's what it means to turn pain into strategy. It's not about avoiding the damage. It's about making sure that nothing hits you without leaving something valuable behind. Because in the end, a pain is inevitable. But staying broken by it, that's a choice. And you've learned how to choose differently. Most people don't realize how much of their life is being controlled not by force, not by rules, but by invisible strings. A look, a comment, a reaction, a moment of approval or rejection, and suddenly their mood shifts. Their confidence rises or falls, their decisions bend. That's external control. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need permission. It quietly takes over the moment your internal state depends on something outside of you. If someone praises you, you feel powerful. If they criticize you, you shrink. If they ignore you, you question your worth. And without realizing it, you've handed over control because now your emotions are no longer yours. They're responses triggered by others. Detaching from external control isn't about becoming cold or disconnected from the world. It's about breaking that dependency. It's about realizing that just because something happens outside of you doesn't mean it gets to decide what happens inside of you. But this is where it gets uncomfortable, because you start to notice how often you've been seeking validation. You notice how a simple good job can lift your entire day, and how the absence of it can make you feel invisible. You notice how criticism lingers in your mind longer than it should, replaying itself, shaping your thoughts, making you question yourself. And you start to ask a dangerous question. Why do I give this so much power? That question changes everything, because the answer is rarely about the moment itself. It goes deeper. It's about wanting to be accepted, to be respected, to be seen. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when those needs turn into dependency, that's when control slips away, because now you don't just appreciate validation, you require it. And anyone who can give it can also take it away. That's the trap. Detachment begins the moment you understand that your value doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's opinion. Someone can misunderstand you and you're still valid. Someone can doubt you and you're still capable. Someone can reject you and you're still worthy. But your mind doesn't accept that easily. It's been trained to react, to interpret every external signal as something personal. A delayed reply becomes disrespect. A critical comment becomes a personal attack. A failure becomes an identity. So you start working backwards. Instead of reacting automatically, you pause. You ask yourself, is this actually about me? Or is it about them? Am I responding to reality or to my interpretation of it? Why does this matter so much right now? That pause creates distance, and in that distance, control returns, because now you're no longer reacting out of habit. You're choosing your response. Detachment also means letting go of the need to control how others see you. That's one of the heaviest burdens people carry, trying to manage perceptions, trying to avoid judgment, trying to be liked by everyone. But clears throat. No matter how much you adjust yourself, someone will misunderstand you, someone will disagree, someone will judge. That's not failure, that's reality. And once you accept that, you stop performing for approval. You stop shaping your actions based on how they'll be perceived and start aligning them with who you actually are. That's freedom, because now your actions come from intention, not insecurity. You say what needs to be said without overthinking every reaction. You make decisions based on clarity, not fear of judgment. You move forward without waiting for permission. And something interesting happens. The less you chase approval, the less control others have over you. Their praise becomes a bonus, not a requirement. Their criticism becomes information, not a verdict. Their opinions become perspectives, not definitions. You start seeing people differently too. You realize that everyone is operating from their own experiences, their own fears, their own biases. So when someone reacts negatively, it's not always about you. It's their lens, their story, their internal state. And once you see that clearly, you stop absorbing everything so personally. That doesn't mean you ignore feedback. It means you filter it. You take what's useful and leave what isn't. You don't let one person's opinion override your entire sense of self, because you've built something stronger inside. Detachment also applies to outcomes. Sometimes external control isn't about people. It's about results. You tie your emotions to success, and when things don't go your way, everything collapses. But when you detach, you focus on the process. You give your best effort without letting the outcome define your worth. If it works, you learn. If it doesn't, you still learn. Either way, you move forward. That mindset makes you stable, unshaken by temporary highs or lows. Because your foundation isn't built on external results. It's built on internal consistency. And here's where detachment becomes powerful. You become harder to manipulate, because manipulation relies on emotional hooks. If someone knows what triggers you, they can control you. But when you've detached, Those hooks don't land the same way. You don't react instantly. You don't give away your emotional state so easily. You don't let others dictate your direction. You observe first. You understand, and then you decide. That makes you unpredictable in the best way, because your actions aren't driven by pressure. They're driven by clarity. And over time, this changes how you move through the world. You become calmer, not because life is easier, but because you're no longer pulled in every direction. You become focused because your energy isn't scattered across trying to please everyone. You become confident, not because everyone agrees with you, but because you no longer need them to. That's real detachment, not isolation, not indifference, but independence. The ability to stay connected to the world without being controlled by it. And once you reach that point, external noise loses its power. Opinions stop shaking you. Situations stop defining you. Reactions stop controlling you. Because everything that used to pull you apart now passes through you without leaving a mark. You still see it. You still hear it. You still understand it. But you don't become it. And that's the moment you realize the control was never outside. You just had to take it back. Chaos isn't the exception. It's clear's throat, the rule. Life doesn't move in straight lines. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't organize itself around your plans, your expectations, or your comfort. Things shift without warning. People change without explanation. Situations collapse just when you thought they were stable. And most people spend their lives trying to avoid that. They chase certainty. They build routines hoping nothing breaks them. They hold on tightly to control because the unknown feels like a threat. But here's the truth they don't want to face. The more you resist chaos, the more fragile you become. Because the moment something unexpected happens, and it will, you're thrown off balance. Your emotions spike. Your thoughts scatter. Your decisions become reactive. Not because chaos is powerful, but because you never learned how to stand in it. Embracing chaos doesn't mean you enjoy disorder. It means you stop expecting life to be predictable. It means you stop depending life to be predictable. It means you stop demanding that everything goes your way before you feel stable. Instead, you build something stronger. You build yourself. Because if you can't control the environment, the only thing left to master is your response to it. That's where real power is. Imagine two people facing the same situation. Everything falling apart around them. One panics, the other adjusts. Same chaos, different outcome. The difference isn't luck, it's internal control. When you embrace chaos, you stop seeing it as a disruption and, clear's throat, start seeing it as a test. Not a test of strength alone, but a test of awareness, discipline, and adaptability. Because chaos exposes everything. It reveals your weak points. It magnifies your habits. It forces your true mindset to the surface. If your thoughts are scattered, chaos amplifies that. If your emotions are unstable, chaos intensifies them. If your decisions are impulsive, chaos makes them reckless. But if you train yourself, chaos becomes an advantage. Because while others are overwhelmed, you're observing. While others are reacting, you're calculating. While others are losing control, you're gaining clarity. That's what it means to master yourself. It's not about controlling what happens. It's about controlling what happens within you. When everything outside is unpredictable, that starts with your thoughts. In chaotic moments, your mind will try to rush ahead. It will jump to worst-case scenarios. It will create stories that aren't even real yet. This is going to fail. Everything is falling apart. There's no way out of this. If you believe those thoughts, instantly you lose. Not because they're true, but because they shape your actions, so you slow it down. Clears throat? You bring your focus back to the present. What is actually happening right now? What can I control in this moment? What's the next move, not the final outcome? That grounding brings clarity because chaos feels overwhelming when you try to solve everything at once. But when you break it down moment by moment, decision by decision, it becomes manageable. That's control. Then come your emotions. Chaos will try to provoke you. It will push frustration, fear, anger, sometimes all at once. And if you let those emotions lead, you'll act in ways that make the situation worse. You'll say things you don't mean. You'll make decisions you regret. You'll burn energy fighting things you can't change. Mastery doesn't mean you don't feel those emotions. It means you don't let them take the wheel. You acknowledge them without obeying them. You feel the pressure without collapsing under it. You stay steady even when everything around you isn't. That steadiness is rare, and that's why it's powerful. Because in chaos, most people are looking for something stable. When you become that stability, you stand out. Not by being loud, but by being controlled. Not by forcing order, but by moving with precision. Embracing chaos also means letting go of perfection. Because chaos doesn't allow perfect conditions. There's always missing information. There's always uncertainty. There's always risk. So instead of waiting for everything to align, you act with what you have. You adapt as you go. You make decisions knowing they might not be perfect, but they're necessary. That flexibility keeps you moving. While others freeze, waiting for clarity, you create clarity through action. And clears throat. Every step you take gives you more information, more feedback, more direction. That's how you turn chaos into progress. But there's another layer to this. Chaos strips away illusions. It shows you who people really are. It shows you what truly matters. It shows you what you're actually capable of. Comfort can hide those truths. Chaos reveals them. And when you stop fearing that, you start valuing it. Because now every chaotic moment becomes an opportunity to sharpen yourself, to refine your thinking, to strengthen your discipline, to deepen your self-control. You don't ask, why is this happening? You ask, how can I use this? That mindset transforms everything, because now chaos isn't your enemy, it's your training ground. A place where you develop the ability to stay calm under pressure, to think clearly in uncertainty, to act decisively when others hesitate. And over time, something shifts inside you. You stop needing everything to be perfect before you feel confident. You stop depending on stability to feel in control. You realize that control was never about the situation. It was always about you, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. That's what you master. And once you do, chaos loses its intimidation. It's still unpredictable. It's still intense. But it no longer shakes you the way it used to, because now, no matter what happens outside, there's something inside you that stays grounded, focused, calm, ready. And that's what separates those who break from those who rise. Not the absence of chaos, but the ability to walk through it without losing yourself. At some point, you realize something unsettling. It was never just about situations. It was never just about people. It was a game of reactions, a game of control, a game where emotions are pulled like strings and most don't even notice they're being played. Approval becomes a reward. Rejection becomes a punishment. Attention becomes currency. Silence becomes a weapon. And without awareness, you get pulled into it. You try to win by proving yourself. You try to win by being liked, You try to win by avoiding conflict or chasing validation. But no matter how much you play, you never really feel in control, because the rules weren't designed for you to win. They were designed to keep you reacting. That's the trap. The more you try to win the game on its terms, the deeper you fall into it. So rising beyond the game doesn't mean playing better. It means understanding the structure so clearly that you stop needing to play at all. That's a different level, because now you're not chasing approval. You're defining your own standards. You're not avoiding rejection. You're no longer controlled by it. You're not reacting to every move. You're choosing when and if. Clears throat, you respond. That shift is quiet but powerful. At first it feels strange. You notice situations where you used to react instantly and now you pause. You notice moments where you would have defended yourself and now you let silence do the work. You notice people trying to provoke you and it no longer lands the same way. It's not that you don't see it, it's that you're no longer pulled by it. That's what it means to rise beyond. You're still aware of the game, but clears throat. You're not emotionally invested in its outcomes. And that's what makes you dangerous in a way most don't understand. Because the game depends on predictable reactions. Say something offensive, they expect anger. Withhold attention, they expect insecurity. Apply pressure, they expect panic. But when you don't react the way they expect, the pattern breaks. And when the pattern breaks, control disappears. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become intentional. You don't respond out of habit, you respond out of choice. If something deserves your attention, you give it fully. If it doesn't, you let it pass without draining your energy. That level of control changes how you move through everything. Conversations become clearer because you're not trying to win them. Decisions become sharper because they're not driven by fear or approval. Relationships become more real because they're not built on performance. You start valuing something different. Not being liked, but being aligned. Not being understood by everyone, but being honest with yourself. Not controlling others, but mastering your own responses. That's where freedom begins. Because the moment you stop needing the game, you stop being affected by its outcomes. If someone praises you, you appreciate it, but it doesn't define you. If someone criticizes you, you consider it, but it doesn't break you. If someone walks away, you let them without chasing or collapsing. That stability is rare, and it comes from one thing. You've shifted your focus inward. Instead of trying to control how others see you, you focus on how you see yourself. Instead of trying to manage every outcome, you focus on how you show up. Instead of trying to predict every move, you stay grounded in your own direction. That internal focus makes you consistent, and consistency creates confidence. Not the loud kind, not the kind that needs to prove itself, but the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't shake under pressure. The kind that doesn't need constant reassurance. The kind that stands firm even when everything around it shifts. And here's the part most people don't realize. When you rise beyond the game, you actually start seeing it more clearly than ever. You notice the patterns in conversations. You see the subtle ways people try to gain control. You understand the dynamics that once confused you. But instead of being caught in it, you observe it. You engage when it's necessary and disengage when it's not. That balance keeps your energy intact because energy is the real currency here. Every reaction costs you something. Every emotional spike drains you. Every unnecessary conflict pulls you away from your focus, so you become selective. Not everything deserves your time. Not everything deserves your response. Not everything deserves your energy. And that selectiveness is power, because now you're not scattered, you're directed, you move with purpose. And when you do choose to act, it carries weight, because it's not coming from impulse, it's coming from clarity. Rising beyond the game also changes how you handle setbacks. Before, a loss felt personal. It felt like failure, like proof that you weren't enough. But now you see it differently. It's just an event, something that happened, not something that defines you. You extract what matters and you move on. No drama, no overreaction, no identity attached to it. That ability to move forward without being emotionally stuck, that's what keeps you ahead. Because while others are replaying the moment, you're already adapting, already progressing. And over time, the gap becomes obvious. Not because you're trying to be better than anyone, but because you're no longer wasting energy on things that don't move you forward. That's what rising beyond really is. It's not about dominance. It's not about control over others. It's about independence from the things that used to control you. The need for validation, the fear of rejection, the impulse to react, the habit of overthinking every move. You outgrow it. Not by force, but by understanding. And once you understand something deeply enough, it loses its hold on you. So the game can continue around you, people can still play it. Situations can still unfold the same way. But you're no longer part of it in the same way. You're operating on a different level, one where your actions come from intention, not reaction. One where your value is self-defined, not externally assigned. One where your peace is internal, not dependent on outcomes. And in that space, you don't just survive the game, you transcend it quietly, completely, irreversibly.